Kyle Larson struggles in Indy 500 qualifying. We'll break down day number 1. Cleetus McFarland adds another race to his 2025 schedule. And the NASCAR All-Star Heat races were on Saturday evening, if people remember. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Back in the studio. Made it back to the home base, to Break Hard East once again. I'll be honest with you guys right now. I'm running on, what are we at now? I've been up for 28 hours, nearly 30 hours at this point. I slept about 30 minutes in the car on my way back from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Saturday. I landed in Indianapolis, went straight from the airport to the racetrack to watch practice and qualifying on Saturday. And then I came back home for the first time in nearly 2.5 weeks after visiting Lady Breakhard out in the far west, way out there as well. So I will maybe put together a bit of a vlog that I did from traveling and then ending up in Indianapolis for all that stuff. But we'll get into what actually happened on the racetrack Saturday. Kyle Larson had a pretty fairy tale beginning to his IndyCar career last year at the 2024 Indianapolis 500, qualifying P5, middle of row 2, had a ton of speed in that car, had a shot at winning pole, and things could not have gone better for him. Well, the exact opposite almost is happening right now in 2025, where he seemingly hasn't gotten a ton of really comfortable lap times or, laps in that car. Granted, he's run a bunch of laps, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to trimming that car out, it seems like it's flirting on an edge, and it has been for everybody. He wrecked the other day in practice, and that kind of set them back a little bit. For qualifying on Saturday, they put a lot of downforce in the car for his first run, not very fast at all. They trimmed it out for his second run. He was able to lock himself in the field. He can't advance his position. He is now locked into starting 21st. He won't have a shot at racing for the pole because he wasn't in the top 12. But regardless, he's in the race. And now we've seen drivers in recent years, Joseph Newgarden, come from middle of the pack to win this race. So he can absolutely still do it. But starting that far back makes it a lot harder to do. So Larson's got a lot of work to do come Sunday, and hopefully on Monday during practice and then on carb day, they can really get that car dialed in for him, because I still think his car is not terrible in race trim, but he just never seemed to have that qualifying speed as well. But every driver was uncomfortable on Friday during Fast Friday and then on Saturday during qualifying. It was sketchy out there. It was like watching a deer try to walk across ice. They were all just skating, trying to keep their feet underneath them. You had Elio Castroneves jumping out of the car, looking at the rear end, being like, what is happening back here? And he's not an engineer, but sometimes you just got to look at something and make yourself feel better about it. What we saw on Saturday, much of the same that we saw on Friday. Guys just on the absolute edge, things very sketchy. You had Marcus Armstrong Saturday morning in warm-up in the practice session before qualifying, just absolutely demolished the wall, took him off on a gurney. Thankfully, he was fine. He sat up, gave a thumbs up. IndyCar Medical eventually cleared him to resume and try to put that car in the field. He is going to the last row shootout. We'll get to that in a moment with the other participants there. And then during qualifying, you had Colton Herta go upside down. Scary moment for him. Again, thankfully, that Andretti team was able to repair that car, piece it back together. He was able to lock himself in the field as well. But it was sketchy out there. A lot of really on the edge drivers. And to the shock of absolutely no one, Alex Palou was fastest once again, 233.043 mile per hour for the Spaniard. For the guy that has won 4 out of the first 5 races, is he going to win 5 out of the first 6, pick up his first oval win, his first Indianapolis 500? We'll have to wait and see what happens next Sunday. But he's going to be in very good contention for pole on Sunday in that Fast 12. So they'll take the top 12, they'll whittle that down to the Fast 6. The Fast 6 will then run for the pole. We also have the last row shootout as well on Sunday, and that's where things get a little bit more interesting. So currently, we'll break down the top 12 real quick. Fighting for the pole, drivers that still have a shot at winning the pole for this year's Indianapolis 500. You have Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon, Robert Schwartzman, the Prima team, who I did not think had this amount of speed in their car. Just an absolutely magical run for the rookie for P6. David Malukas and 7th. Felix Rosenquist, Takuma Sato, Will Power, Marcus Ericsson, and Christian Lundgaard. Takuma Sato in a Rahal Letterman Lanigan car makes it into the top 12. Graham Rahal, once again, was sweating bullets trying to make sure that he found his way into the race, and he did, P30, but he's not in that last row shootout. That last row shootout, one driver will go home amongst Marco Andretti, Marcus Armstrong, Rinus VeeKay, and Jacob Abel. Jacob Abel has just not had speed this week. Same with Rinus VeeKay. Those DCR cars just have struggled mightily. Then you have Marcus Armstrong. The team pieced it together, a bit of a Frankenstein-looking car to get him back out on track, just didn't have the speed to lock themselves in. And Marco Andretti and that 98 team, they've really struggled to find speed. And I don't know if it's a hybrid component or what it is, but there's a strong possibility that Marco Andretti misses this year's Indianapolis 500. This place has just not been very nice to him. Outside of his pole here a couple years ago, just a bit of a brutal run for him going forward. Ultimately, the most drama came at the very end of the day when Connor Daly tried to put himself into the top 12 and just narrowly missed out on knocking Christian Lundgaard out of that top 12. Daly instead will start 13th on next Sunday, which honestly probably isn't going to be that bad. That car looked pretty good in race trim from what we've seen as well. So there's an opportunity for him to be competitive. Turns out Cleetus McFarland just wants some more taste of some live ARCA action because he has added another race to his 2025 schedule. Obviously, he raced Daytona, the opener. He raced at Talladega a couple weeks ago. He has now also added the Charlotte race for the ARCA series next Friday, the precursor to the Truck Series race. He'll be in that as well in that number 30 Rhett Jones Ford Mustang. And honestly, I think it's a really, really good thing. Hell yeah, brother. I'm excited that he wants to do more racing outside of super speedways because ultimately to climb the ladder to get to his goal of the Daytona 500, he needs to make starts outside of super speedways. Yeah, it's super fun to just put your foot to the floor, turn left with a bunch of screaming bald eagles, and rip around Daytona and Talladega for a couple hours. It's very fun. Everybody loves doing it on iRacing. But ultimately, if you want to climb that ladder, you have to hone your driving skills, especially in a stock car. Now, I think we all know Cleetus can drive. We've seen the videos. He has great car control. But there's a difference between doing that on a closed course with nobody else around versus driving a stock car and having complete control of that. And I'm glad that he's racing at Charlotte because it's only going to help him out in the long run here. Charlotte's a tricky track. I think people just view it as like this 1.5 mile, kind of D-shaped oval. Yeah, turn 3, getting into turn 3 at Charlotte is not the easiest thing in the world. So I'm interested to see how he handles all of this. He's in a fast car. They should absolutely probably contend for a top 10 easily. Hopefully he's putting in some laps on the sim just to get a feel for it as well. But it's going to go a long way to the progression of him advancing up that NASCAR ladder. Dale Jr., I think, made a reference to Cleetus on Kevin Harvick's podcast this week where he's like, I've got a guy that's made 2 ARCA starts talking to me about making a truck start this year, which kind of falls in line with Cleetus because they want to return to Talladega in the fall, but there's no ARCA race in the fall. There's just a truck, Xfinity, and Cup race, so he'd have to make a truck start. And right now, those trucks move around way more right now than the ARCA cars do. And you're racing a much more competitive field, a much more ruthless field, guys that are just absolutely going to take everything that they can versus ARCA where half the time they don't realize what they're doing and then they just all end up wadded up together. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that he's running this. He's also running Bristol in the fall, September 11th. It's also the precursor to the Truck Series race as well. So yeah, I hope he adds more of these races to his schedule because ultimately it just helps build that racing resume for him. And then when he wants to advance up to the Truck Series or the Xfinity Series, he can put this in front of that NASCAR selection committee or, competition committee and be like, hey, I've done all of these races. These are my results for it. Can I move up? And don't make them have to, make an exception in the eyes of some people because he is a big name. He brings a lot of eyeballs to the sport. He's a good personality. I think it's good that Cleetus is absolutely involved in the sport. I don't think anybody is going to dispute that at all. He's brought new eyeballs, like I said, and some good exposure. At the same time, though, there is, of course, a formula that you should follow here, and you shouldn't just get to bypass it because you are a big name and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that he's trying to do that at all. He very much has been by the book so far, other than the fact that he's got to figure out his safety stuff because he's on probation from ARCA. He's getting fined by ARCA. I don't know what it is that Garrett Mitchell doesn't have on the safety side of things, but we need somebody to dress him beforehand to be like, hey, all right, you got everything so we don't get another fine here. Ultimately, I'm excited to see what he can do on Friday in Charlotte. I'm glad that he added it. Now we'll see if he adds anything else throughout the year. I'd like to see him maybe try another short track or two. Get him up to Salem. Get Cleetus McFarland to Salem, Indiana. Let's see what he can do on the famed high banks over there. Sketchy racetrack, but super fun at the same time, or maybe at the very least we can get him to Kansas or something like that, where he can, stretch the legs on that 30 car again and get a feel for an intermediate track as well. Did you miss the NASCAR All-Star heat races on Saturday evening? You're probably not the only one, because they ran them on FS2 at like 5 o'clock in the evening, and I'm not sure that many people tuned in to watch them. Heat race number 1 was won by Brad Keselowski. He led 74 of these 75 laps, and it looked exactly like what we saw last year in the All-Star race, where the leader can get out to a lead and be very commanding and not ever give it up. And then back in the field, it can be a little bit more racy. And we saw that. It was definitely racy from the lead on back, but with a short track package, you can just not pass the leader whatsoever. And that's what happened again on Saturday during these heat races, which doesn't make me super excited for the Sunday All-Star race, but I'll still tune in and see what's happening here. You had Brad Keselowski wins, Ross Chastain second, William Byron third, Ryan Blaney fourth, Alex Bowman fifth in that first heat race. It was fine. I know a lot of people were raving about it, and it was good racing all the way back, but there's still obviously a massive improvement that can be made to the short track package. Then on the other side of things, you have heat race number 2. Christopher Bell wins that heat race. He leads 69, of 75 laps. The only other leader was Chase Briscoe. He led 6 laps, and he also got crashed and spun out as well. Joey Logano second, Chase Elliott in third, Kyle Busch fourth, and Chris Buescher in fifth. So that sets the lineup for the All-Star race. Race number 1 set the inside. Race number 2 set the outside. So Christopher Bell will be leading the outside line there. Ultimately, I really like North Wilkesboro. I think North Wilkesboro would be absolutely incredible with an Xfinity Series race there. The Truck Series race on Saturday was really, really good until Lane Riggs decided to drive over his head, which kind of has unfortunately become a Lane Riggs thing, as much as I like that kid. He just got in too hot and hit Corey Heim, pushed him up out of the way. Heim spins out, and then he ends up not winning the race, that being Lane Riggs, and his teammate Chandler Smith goes on to win the race as well. So just probably got to be smarter there. But the Cup cars, like I said, from second on back, they race pretty well, but nobody can get up there and race for the lead, and that's the unfortunate part that we're dealing with right now. So maybe we'll see something different in the Sunday All-Star race and the Open as well. But yeah, I think we're all tuning in to see if Kyle Busch is actually going to follow up on his statement that he'll just wreck somebody before they have the chance to throw that promoter's caution, which I think we're all here for at this point. So let me know in the comments what you thought about day 1 of Indianapolis 500 qualifying, Cleetus McFarland adding another race to his schedule, and the NASCAR heat races on Saturday. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.